it says on number 4, credit terms, and this is 315 net 30. 3 is the percent discount rate. 15 days is the discount period. N stands for the word net, and 30 is the credit period. So far, so good. I will YouTube this, and I'll put it on the portal if you want to go back and watch it. I mean, you're welcome to do that, but it's mainly for Chris because I told him I would do it today and next time. So, and I may ask you to stop it in a few minutes and then restart it, because if the YouTubes are too big, it takes hours for it to create. Have you learned that the hard way? Me too. So it's better to do like in 15-minute chunks rather than 30 minutes. So will you help me kind of, about, you know, like 12:30, just kind of, yeah, ish.
15 or 30?
What, 15 is better. Okay, so anyway, so the total amount, number 5 here, total invoice amount is $35,000, right? So 35,000 times 0.03, 3%, would mean that if they pay it within the 15 days, they can minus 3% or pay 97% is another way of looking at it. You could multiply the 35,000 times 0.97, and that's the amount that would be received by Southwest Electronics, paid by Smart Touch Learning. Right? There's two sides. One's going to pay money, one's going to receive money. That gets to be a little confusing in this chapter. You have to figure out whether you're purchasing or whether you're selling. Make sense? Because Southwest is going to do, well, Smart Touch is going to do both. They're going to buy and then they're going to resell. Don't know about Southwest. They may be the manufacturer of it. So, and we're not going over the manufacturing. That is in Accounting 2112, your manufacturing. So, either way, when we use what we call the gross method, and that's the only one that you're responsible for, on the day that Smart Touch buys it, which is, they receive it on June the 3rd. Okay? The invoice was dated June 1st, but it takes a little bit of time for it to get there. You with me? You know, you get Mr. UPS man comes, delivers it. And so on June 3rd, we record it. And we record it with a debit to our new asset called merchandise inventory. You could call it inventory or merchandise inventory. It is our new asset. It is an asset. And remember last time I told you that's different than supplies, because supplies we use, but merchandise inventory we resell. So there's our difference. They're both current assets, but they're in different categories. And where supplies, as you use them, becomes supplies expense, merchandise inventory, when we sell it, becomes cost of goods sold. So far, so good.
Would cost of goods sold be credited then?
Cost of goods sold is an expense. It's debited.
Okay.
And merchandise inventory gets credited when it goes down,
Okay.
right? Just like when we did supplies, it was debit supplies expense and credit supplies. So we debit the expense, we credit the asset. It's not an adjusting entry. It happens on the day that, under the perpetual inventory method, it happens on the day that you sell it. So we make two entries, one for the sale, the green beans that I'm buying, 76 cents a can, and then one for the 72 cents, credit inventory, debit, cost of goods sold, for the movement of the asset out the door. It's been sold or stolen, but hopefully sold. Nobody's going to steal green beans, right? I mean, you're going to steal something really yummy. Okay, anyway, so whether we pay cash or whether we pay, do it on account, so the bottom of 286, merchandise inventory for cash, top of 287 instead, merchandise inventory for on account, accounts payable. You've done that before, it's just we've got a new asset that we're buying. We're good? Any questions? Nothing hard. This is not hard. Okay? Well then, we pay it middle of 287 on June 15th. Is that within 15 days of the invoice date? The answer is yes. They had until the 16th. Okay? And so they paid it on the 15th. Well, if all we did, and we don't have to pay all $35,000, right? We're paying $33,950, which is $35,000 minus 3% of 35,000, or 35,000 times 97% equals 33,950. Everybody agree with that? We're good? But if my accounts payable, which went up 35,000, if all I did was debit it, what happens? It shows there's a balance. Are we ever going to pay that? No. We are never going to pay that discount amount, right? So what we have to do is we have to debit our accounts payable for the net amount and get it all the way off the books. Is that clear? So that's why it's a complex entry if we do pay it within the discount period. Complex meaning more than one debit and or more than one credit. So far so good. All right, so we debited accounts payable for all of it, 35,000, because that's what we put it on. We credit cash for what we pay. We write a check for the net, or the after discount amount. And then we credit merchandise inventory. So what happens to merchandise inventory? Accounts payable is going down and it's flat now, right? As to that particular one. Inventory went up for 35,000. It's now going down 1,050. How much is in inventory right now? That 33,000 number, right? So what we're showing is the inventory didn't really cost us 35,000. Its real cost to us was 33,950. So when it goes out the door, when we sell it, we will credit it 33,950, not 35,000. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Is accounts payable the 35 because they didn't know if you would pay it early?
This is called, and for you, because you're my accounting major, you will, when we do this next year, you will actually have the gross method. This is called the gross method. You assume no discounts are taken, and you record it at 35,000. Under the net method, and a lot of companies do this under the net method, they would record it assuming the discounts are taken. So that I'm right now highlighting, and in some companies, they don't put it to merchandise inventory. In the periodic method, it goes to purchase discounts. So we see how many discounts we did take. But the net method is nice because you see how many discounts you lost. Because if we had to pay 35,000, it would highlight we lost a $1,050 discount. And in purchases, if I was the boss, I'd want to know how many discounts we lost, not how many we took. Because my policy would be take discounts every time. You say, well, what's the big deal? 3%. 3% is nothing. 3% for 15 days. That's huge, right? 3% a year is nothing. But what this means is that you can take 3% off if you pay it on day 16 instead of day 30 or the first of the next month, right? So you get 3% for 15 days. How many 15 days are there in a year? 24, about, right? There's 2 a month, there's 12 months. So that's 72% interest annual. That's huge. You can't afford to lose that. You can't afford not to take these discounts. Now if it was 1, 10, net 60, okay. So that's 1% for 50 days. 60 minus 10 is 50 days. You see? And 50 days is, there's only 7 of those. That's still 7%. And there aren't many ways you can get a guaranteed 7% right now. But most of the time, you cannot afford to lose your discounts. So your question was very critical thinking, or you're good at your critical thinking, but I would want to do it at the net method. But you are not required to. What we do it is at the gross method. We record it at net. So if we do take it within the discount, we have a complex entry. However, if you'll turn the page, and this is not in addition to, this is instead of, on 288, if we didn't pay it by the 16th, if we did not pay it within the discount period, then ethically and legally we should not be able to take the discount. Although I'll tell you, my husband's got a lot of customers that pay after the discount period and they try to take the discount. But anyway, that's unethical and it's not according to contract, right? every now and then, but you can't get away with it all the time. It's not a good practice. I would not encourage it, okay? And so if you pay it after that day, for whatever reason, you forgot, you didn't have the cash, it's better to go to the bank and borrow the money and take your discounts than to lose that discount. Because no banker is going to charge you 72% interest. Right? I mean, we're crying out Christmas, right? So, but if we did, then it would just be debit accounts payable and credit cash $35,000. There would not be a complex entry. It'd be a simple entry, one debit, one credit. And it would not affect, so our inventory would not be $33,950. It would stay on at $35,000. That would be our cost of that inventory. How are we doing? Does that make sense? Good. Okay, let me see. She is here. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Remind me again. Put down that you did. Okay, so we are now on page, and actually we've recorded this, so you could actually watch I'm going to YouTube this for another student, and so you can watch the beginning of it, and you won't have missed anything. That doesn't mean the rest of you should skip next time. Okay? And if Chris asks me to record next week, I will, but right now he's just trying to get well and catching up on his other classes, and some of his classes he can't skip, you know. I mean, he's excused, but it's still hard, isn't it, to miss a class, especially one of the, like this one, I think. Some of you are little sponges like I was, and that's a real blessing, right? That you come to class and it's like, oh, I got it. Some of you aren't sponges, but it's still helpful to come to class. Okay. All right, so when I go to Publix, and I went last night, my husband and I went last night, and what did we buy? We bought some cashew milk. I don't drink that, but my grandchildren do, and they'll be here this weekend. So we bought cashew milk. Well, if I open it and it's rancid, which it better not be, but if it is, and actually it's Valentine's Day. They're gonna wake up in our house on Valentine's Day, so we're gonna have pink milk. We're gonna put some food coloring in it, and pink pancakes with strawberries on top. You like that? I think it's kind of cool. But anyway, and they each have their little heart-shaped box of candy, and because there aren't going to be many days that they are going to have Valentine's Day in Mimi and Papa's house, so that's really cool. But let's say that that's rancid. What am I going to do? I'm going to take it back to Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. And they are going, and whether I take that in or not, I can either take the empty carton in, or I can take in the receipt and say, this stuff was nasty. And what will they do? They will refund it 100% with a smile. Yes? Okay? And that's Publix. Shopping is a pleasure. And so that would be called a purchase return. A purchase return. If you have a car in Florida, your battery is probably not going to last the 5 years of warranty. Did you know that? Those of you who are not Floridians, wake up and smell the coffee. The heat in Florida, if your car is here 12 months a year, your battery probably will not last 5 years. So it would behoove you, when you get a new battery, to put the receipt in the glove box, so that when you have to, if you take it back to that same place, they'll usually give you an allowance. They don't give you a free one, but they'll give you something off, right? And so that would be a purchase allowance. So purchase returns and allowances. Return all your money, allowance part of your money. Got it? Well, in this particular case, bottom of page 288, top of 289, it says that, I'll just read it to you. Assume that Smart Touch hasn't yet paid their bill, because they had 15 days. And what they did was, remember, they got it on June 3rd, because that's the day they recorded it. And suppose that 20 of them were damaged. So they open them up and they say, oh my goodness, we need to send these back. And sometimes you send them back. They give you a box and a label, and they send them back at their expense. They want to see how damaged they were, how they were damaged, right? Sometimes they say, just take them to Goodwill if there's any value at all. Sometimes they say, throw them in the dumpster. Whatever the vendor says, that's what you do. But the fact is, they give you your money back, okay? Well, we haven't paid for it yet, have we? And so they're not gonna write us a check. That would be kind of dumb. So what they do is they give us a credit. Now that word credit just doesn't mean like your credit card, okay? They give us an allowance. So look at the journal entry on page 289. They flipped part of the original entry. It was debit inventory, credit accounts payable. What we did here is flip it, right? For the part that they're giving us as a credit. Are you with me? This is not hard. This is just like if you went to Walmart and something was bad and you had to take it back, they would put a credit to your account, right? They give a gift card, or if you have your credit card and your receipt, they credit it back to your credit card, right? But it's a credit, right? Okay, so that's what they do. So we no longer owe $35,000. The original invoice amount, the net amount was $35,000, but the return and allowance, this was a $7,000. Can you see me on there?
We should stop it.
Can you? Okay. Okay. After I finish this, we'll push the red button and push it again. Is a $28,000 balance due, right? And that's due within. Thank you. That's due within 15 days of the original invoice. Now, when we take off our discount, do you think we can still take off the $1,050? No, they're not going to give us a discount for something we don't pay for. What are they going to give a discount on? On the $28,000. So it's the due amount times the discount rate, which is 3% of the $28,000, which is not. Well, I don't. That's a totally different problem. But somebody do that, please. 3% of 28. There's a 4 somewhere. Times 0.03. 840. Okay. And so what we can pay, we have two choices. The discount amount is $27,160, right? We can pay that within 15 days, or we can pay that within 30 days, days 16 to 30. So far, so good? Okay. And the journal entry would be based, I would like you to memorize this. I would like you to memorize this. The original amount of the invoice minus returns and allowances gives you what is really due. Is that logical? I don't know $35,000 anymore. I sent $7,000 back, or I threw it in the garbage, or I donated it, or whatever. So I only have to pay this much. But I'm going to get a 3% if I pay it on time, early. The purpose of paying it early, shorten your operating cycle. Shorten the operating cycle. The seller offers that so that you will shorten the time of that operating cycle. That's why they give you that. So I can pay that within 15 days, or I can pay that within 30 days. You need to memorize that. And Corey, when you get that written down, if you'll push the red button, please.